Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily News YouTube channel. Today's topics: Y&R spoilers reveal shocking news. While Genoa City has become accustomed to power earthquakes, Victor's surprise announcement that he may be leaving Y&R in October due to cancer still cuts through every boardroom, living room, and dark corner where deals are signed with smiles and suspicion. The confession is more than just medical information. It's a chessboard-shattering move, forcing everyone who has ever faced or relied on Victor to wonder when the icon retreats. What trajectory will the remaining pieces follow, and who will be brave enough to inherit a legacy built on decades of vision, cunning, and loyalty? Against this backdrop, the tense battle between Kane and Victor becomes the main drama of the week, where every move, whether a text message, a secret meeting, or a contract signed with almost dry ink, carries the weight of a checkmate in a game of survival chess. Victor doesn't just trap in the simple sense. He constructs a psychological maze, erecting layers of virtual mirrors that reflect each of his opponent's weaknesses to force Kane to see his own ambitions and then slip. From quietly altering the cash flow of a satellite company to letting controlled leaks of signals about a deal that Kane thinks he's not paying attention to, it's all part of a masterclass in soft warfare, where victory is achieved without noise, but by the opponent's natural collapse when disoriented. Kane, of course, is not the type of opponent who can only react. He comes across as someone who has learned by heart the history of Victor's bait within a bait strategy, an attractive project on the surface, a tunnel leading to legal and ethical constraints underneath. But one of the familiar tragedies of Genoa City is that the smart guy often falls into a trap because he trusts his own intelligence too much. Kane sees the bait, is suspicious of the bait, but is also attracted by the feeling of outdoing the legend, a dangerous feeling that can turn every prudent calculation into a smug all-in. The biggest question is not whether Victor has a trap. Of course he does. But whether Kane has the nerve to stop before crossing the invisible line between boldness and recklessness. The smart investors in the story, whether the established shareholders or the players on the sidelines, are betting on the same outcome. Kane will understand why people don't trick the patriarch by making him interested. Because when Victor is interested, he rarely loses. Against that backdrop, the announcement of Victor's illness sets off an unpredictable domino effect. Rivals will smell a power vacuum and rush to step in, while allies will struggle with the question of how to protect the legacy, keep the old structure intact, or boldly reform before it is destroyed from the outside. Each part of the empire may face a decision matrix: tighten spending to defend or expand to attack, stay safe in the zone of influence, or risk being pushed into the opponent's turf. At the other end of the emotional spectrum is Claire Grace, who announces a dramatic decision to turn her entire life upside down. For Claire, turning it upside down is not simply changing jobs or moving house. It is a re-establishment of identity, a daring to question whether previous choices were based on fear, a need for validation, or an unnamed ideal. When Claire chooses to sever certain relationships, shift priorities, and step into a new role, be it in an organization, a project, or even a war zone, she understands that every big decision has a price. Old friends may see it as a betrayal. Old enemies may see it as an opportunity. And she herself must learn to live with the repercussions of her choice. When night falls, Claire's story explodes, not because she defies someone else's expectations, but because she accepts her own expectations. The invisible mold that often tightens more than any external pressure. These trajectories intersect at a single point. Victor. The cancer announcement becomes a mirror of all motives. Nick and Sharon drive for clarity. Claire stands on the precipice of reclaiming her own desire to be proactive. and Kane is teetering on the edge of a cliff, where one wrong move could define his reputation for years to come. If Victor does indeed leave the stage in October, the story will not end. It will change tone. The psychological mazes he has built will continue to operate for a while, like the inertia of a well-oiled machine. But in time, someone will have to make the difficult decisions for him. Protect his family by enclosing them in a wall, or opening the gate to let in the wind for renewal. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Punish the traitors as a lesson, or use them as leverage for a bigger deal. Anyone can say they are ready until they are forced to sign the paper that has real value. Back to the Kane-Victor game. The signs of a double move are evident. Kane believes he has found a weak link in a chain of derivative contracts related to a project outside Genoa City, where he can surf on asymmetric information. But Victor, as usual, has injected enough noise into the system to turn that information into an illusion. A meeting is accidentally scheduled to coincide with an audit. An unimportant financial report is sent a few hours late. One of Kane's associates suddenly receives an attractive invitation. All these seemingly random fragments combine to form a thin but strong net. And when the opponent realizes they have tied themselves up with their own efforts to struggle, the most spectacular trap is not the explosion. It is the moment of silence when the predator understands that he is no longer the predator. If there was an overarching image for this week, it was a horizon split by two lights. On one side, Nick and Sharon's desk lamp in the cabin, where they rewrote their list of what really matters. On the other, the cold fluorescent glow of the conference room, where Victor's advisors were measuring every unit of risk and loyalty in numbers. In the middle was Claire, standing on the bridge, looking down at the shifting waters, wondering if courage would come before or after she jumped. And in the distance was Kane, still convinced he had the decisive move lined up, unaware that the only thing missing from his model was the Victor variable, a variable that had been in every Genoa City power equation long before he ever set foot on the board. Ultimately, the announcement of Victor's illness, though shocking, is also a stark reminder of the transiency of power and the endurance of legacy. The man may depart, but the principles that operate, wisdom, discipline, the ability to see 3 steps ahead and pay the price for a fourth, will continue to shape the city. If Victor does emerge from the eye of the storm, his legacy will be more than buildings, companies, or deals. It will be a language of power that anyone who wants to survive in Genoa City will be forced to learn. And it is in that language that this week will write an indispensable chapter. As the king steps back, the remaining pieces will reveal their true nature. Those who only know how to move in a straight line, those who are flexible in a diagonal line, and those who are willing to sacrifice for a new vision. So, expect some contradictory movements, a long family road trip that becomes an emotional journey of rebirth. A single decision by Claire could shake the web of power, and a seemingly simple trap by Victor would become a roadmap for months of drama to come. Whether Victor stays or leaves in October, the cut of the announcement closes one chapter and opens another, where each character must decide whether they will be writer, reader, or mere footnote in the epic that is Genoa City. In a climate thick with rumors and uncertainty, The Young and the Restless unfolded in a time when every glance in the conference room or brief text message in the hallways was enough to make viewers nervous. Sources whispered about a seismic event off-screen. The question of who will replace him was hanging in the balance, like a cloud hanging over every development in the story. But even as behind the scenes, fandom was buzzing on Crean, the script kept its foot on the gas, turning every moment of the week into a calculated move. Victor set a trap. Kane was impatient. Nick and Sharon left town to visit Noah with a seemingly platonic family purpose that held the potential for a revelation. And Claire, the unpredictable one, heading straight toward a decision that could redefine who she is and to whom she owes in the coming months. Victor's trap for Kane was more than a crude lure. It was a neat little maze where the real exit lay behind his opponent's winning instinct. Victor didn't rush or make a fuss. He created a gap in the chain of information, allowing Kane to see opportunities right where he wanted them. A subcontract that seemed to be released from control. A former employee suddenly appearing with its seemingly transparent dossier. A side meeting arranged by chance. Each piece, if alone, harmless. But when Kane touched it, they stuck together in a silent trap. Kane, who had the ambition to move from experienced player to rule writer, couldn't help but feel excited when he believed he had caught a weak link in the Newman empire. He pumped up his team's confidence, signaling his colleagues to speed up the approach to a secret deal, seemingly waiting for Victor to make a mistake to close the deal. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. But the difference between a good racer and a track designer is that the good one wins quickly, while the designer wins for sure. Victor is in the background, looking at the entire map and counting every heartbeat of his opponent. The audience is therefore both nervous and excited. Nervous, because they know Kane is smart enough to avoid a simple trap. So, if he still falls into it, the trap must be so sophisticated that it is impossible not to step into it. Exciting, because every time Victor switches roles from Iron Fist to psychological magician, the film finds a subtle climax. No need to bang on the table, no need to threaten. Just a few small schedule disturbances, a few timely leaks, and a legal monitoring line that is tight enough that everything that comes out bears the mark of suspicious coincidence. If Kane chooses to go further, he will have to pay the price that Victor's opponents always lose, the right and ability to control the story. If he chooses to back down, he will be overwhelmed by doubts from his own allies. Why miss a golden opportunity? And thus the image of the driver will be broken. No matter which direction Kane turns, he must go through the door set by Victor. While the chessboard of power is as tense as a string, Nick and Sharon choose to leave Genoa City to visit Noah. On the surface, the choice is a move to slow down family life, to go see, hug, talk, and put aside the noisy noise of business deals. But if you look closely, the trip is an internal examination. What kind of family do Nick and Sharon want? When the storm around Victor can create a power and moral vacuum in the extended family and the companies involved, they drive, cross state highways, change radio stations many times, and say things to each other that would be difficult to say at home, amid ringing phones and piled up emails. Is it time to redefine what protection means? To stick by your children, or to respect their choice of a life of their own? To keep secrets, to reassure them, or to share to reassure them? The answer perhaps lies in the moment the three of them sat at the dinner table, when Noah asked back, "Do you need me to be with you, or do you need me to be secure in my choice?" Such a question was enough to transform Nick and Sharon's original intention to unite the family into another possibility to return to a revelation about themselves rather than news of others, and with a family always at the intersection of kinship and power. Any internal revelation can become the spark for major changes. But the wild card this week is Claire. Her character development is pushing her to a crossroads, where each turn, independence, romance, or rebellion opens a chain of irrevocable consequences. If she chooses independence, she will be forced to sever the ties that seem to support her, but are actually shaping her into someone else's mold. Independence isn't simply a matter of moving house or changing jobs. It's a matter of putting on the table and rewriting her own guiding principles. Who is family in Claire's sense, where the limits of sacrificing for two brought a family, and where gratitude stops when gratitude begins to erode self-esteem? If she chooses romance, love will not come to soften the story, but to complicate it. A new relationship in the world of Y&R always carries with it intersecting trajectories of interests, suspicions, and past shadows. If she chooses to rebel, that is to dare to poke at the stable structure herself. She will be labelled a traitor in some circles, but may earn respect in others, where people who dare to be real stand together, more or less alone, but steadfast. The weight of this decision rests not only on Claire's shoulders, but also on the tables of many others who have always been accustomed to seeing her as a controllable variable. When a variable redefines as itself, all equations must be rewritten accordingly. Some ally will be startled to realize that previous conversations have turned out to be dishonest because they were based on the assumption that Claire will always play it safe. Some rival will hastily propose a handshake in mid-motion, half friendly, half predatory, and the people in the family, whether they understand it or not, will have to adjust their positions around her like planets refinding their orbits when the center of gravity changes. It is at this turn that Claire moves out of the realm of who she is required to be into the realm of who she decides she is, returning to the big shadow of the off-screen question, who will replace him? The film wisely does not answer it directly. Instead, the script makes a continuous gesture. It asks the same question right at the heart of the story. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. If Victor, for whatever reason, steps down from his iconic position in the company, in the family, in the hierarchy of power, then who will take his place as the fulcrum? That question makes many people swallow hard, because replacing an icon requires more than just a seat and a stamp. It requires a language of power that has been forged over time, looking 3 steps ahead, daring to pay the price at the 4th step, and not shaking his hand when it comes to putting the common good above temporary emotions. Nick has the composure and protective instincts, but is he ruthless enough when it comes? Sharon has a great sense of people and events, but does she want to stay in that vortex? Kane is ambitious and quick-witted, but his desire to prove himself can make him easy prey for sophisticated traps. Claire has the courage to reinvent herself, but a new principle takes time to take root and convince others to follow. The seemingly behind-the-scenes question turns into a mirror placed before the cast. Who can, who wants, and who should? By weaving together 3 strands, Victor's trap, Nick and Sharon's journey, and Claire's turn, Y&R builds a week where each episode has a drop flavor, not too explosive to exhaust, but tense enough to make viewers wonder, where will the next episode turn? The sense of panic in the city doesn't come from a chase scene or a siren. It comes from the realization that everyone is facing difficult decisions, and each decision could be the first domino in a long chain. Those who love corporate chess will hold their breath at Victor's masterful trapping. Those who care about family will see themselves in the moments when Nick and Sharon have to balance between holding their children's hands and letting them go so they can grow up. Those who love characters who escape will see Claire as an invitation. Courage is not about not being afraid, but being afraid and still going. And when the frame closes, the question that remains is no less real. When an icon truly leaves, what remains? And who will lift it up in their own way? Then perhaps Genoa City will do what it does best. Let someone leave the stage, but keep the dramatic intensity intact by changing the camera angle. The empty space of a big name not only creates loss, it also creates breathing room for new voices to speak louder. And in a place where friendship and business are intertwined like a thread, whoever steps up to fill that void will have to learn the same lesson Victor once learned by heart. Lasting power lies not in your signature, but in your ability to make others want to sign with you. The Young and the Restless proves why it still holds viewers' attention after all these years. Every private choice has public consequences, and every whisper in the family kitchen can rattle the glass doors of the boardroom. While viewers are still struggling with the off-screen question, of who will replace them on screen. The temporary answer is no one needs to be replaced yet. Stay tuned, because the characters themselves are changing to fill the gaps that fate has just created. And in that intersection, Y&R moves through a week of turning the page and looking in the mirror, leaving behind a mark, not with a big bang, but with a steady heartbeat of characters, learning to live authentically in the eye of the storm. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest news on our channel.